Tēnā koutou, welcome to the April 4th meeting of the Infrastructure Services Committee 2022. As of the start of this meeting, there was no public forum, so we can go past item 1 and we're on to item 2, apologies. We have an apology from Councillor Benson Pope for absence, so I move that the committee accepts the apology for absence from Councillor Benson Pope. Second to Councillor Elder. All those in favour?
Sorry, Jim. I got one from Councillor Hall as well. Sorry, I forgot.
Oh, sorry, I should have asked if there any more apologies. I'll add an apology from Councillor Hall as well. I will take Councillor Elder as the seconder still. All those in favour for those 2 apologies? Passed. Carried. On to item 3, confirmation of the agenda. I move that the committee confirms the agenda without addition or alteration. I have a seconder, Councillor Radich. All those in favour? Carried. Item 4, declarations of interest. Does anybody wish to make any changes to their interest register? Good, then that is the case. Then I move that the committee notes the members' interest register as attached as attachment A and confirms the proposed management plan for members' interest. Second, Councillor Radich. All those in favour? Carried. Confirmation of minutes. I have the Infrastructure Services Committee meeting 14th of February 2022. Does anybody have any questions about those minutes? I just have one, which is the items for consideration for the chair, which was a mechanism for bringing grants subcommittee minutes that have been done in the grant subcommittee that relate to infrastructure, especially waste minimisation plan. Is that work underway?
I can't answer that one, sorry.
We can consider that further.
Oh, well, it's fine. It doesn't change the minutes themselves. Okay, I move then that the committee confirms the public part of the minutes of the Infrastructure Services Committee meeting held on the 14th of February 2022 as a correct record. Seconded, Councillor Staines. All those in favour? Carried. Item 6, actions and resolutions of Infrastructure Services Committee meeting. Does anybody have any questions for that item? Councillor Elder.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question. We're looking at the Infrastructure Services Committee and the Forward Work Programme. Is
that's the next item.
Oh no, resolutions. And I was looking at the housing, the work in the housing area and property, and has that always been under the Infrastructure Services Committee? That was all, or has it shifted from environmental planning? Or
it's a good question, Councillor, because it's there's a report coming to Community and Culture tomorrow. So
yes,
we will check that for you.
lovely.
I think the buildings sit in infrastructure. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying.
If I can, this is one of those areas where there's the physical buildings that property have that report to ISCOM, but some of the things related to our social and community housing sometimes go to Community and Culture. So it's a department that has split delegations, and that item in the open actions shows that, and it does speak to the report coming to Community and Culture.
Okay. Oh, I just wanted a clarification of that, Sandy, and thanks for that.
Yeah, it's tricky. Some departments easily fit in ISCOM water and waste, but property has dual, we wear 2 hats.
And understandably so, in the sense of the actual infrastructure itself versus the property portfolio. Yeah. Thanks for that. I just needed clarification, Sandy. Thank you.
No worries.
You, Councillor Elder. Any other questions? I move then that the committee notes the open and completed actions, resolutions for Infrastructure Services Committee meeting shown in attachment A and B. Do I have any speakers? I need a second first, actually. Councillor Rabbit, anybody wish to speak to it? Good, then I move. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 7, Infrastructure Service Committee Forward Work Program, page 29. Any questions? Okay, then I move that the committee knows Infrastructure Services Forward Work Program, seconded by Councillor Lord. Anybody wish to comment? Then I move it. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 8, Major Projects Update Report 2022, which is page 34. Mr. Von Pine, I'm here today to do this. This is something that I've been asking for. It's basically to allow us from the governance level to keep a track of where the major programs are, where our major infrastructure spends are. I caution everybody when they're looking at this report, this is not a, I don't think it'll be of anybody's interest if we spend an hour on this item. This item is really intended to become part of a series of items that will be coming into every infrastructure meeting. Is to make sure that the projects are effectively on time. That's the major reason that we're here today. Do you wish to speak to it all, Mr. Von Pine?
I'm happy to take questions.
Could I just add one comment, Chair?
Yes.
Just to say that we're trying to take reports that we use internally to manage projects and put them to council. So they are, we've tweaked them slightly, but it's about doing the minimal amount of rework that we have to give you appropriate governance level oversight. But these are iterative, so they're new internally as well. So if they're not perfect, we are working to change them to make them better. But as Councillor O'Malley said, we've been working to try and get these on the agenda for a while. So we'd welcome things that you think may be missing, but remembering, these are a work in progress.
And also that these are just projects that are currently in the project management office.
Yep.
I believe, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
And
questions?
they won't just come to the ISCOM committee either. If it's a project that is a community and culture project, for example, they may go there. So you'll get regular project reporting to the relevant committee.
Cool. Thanks. Councillor Lord.
Thank you, Chair. Look, this is probably an operational question. It is about the Mosgiel pool. So if it's not appropriate, Josh, don't answer. But I'm just wondering where or how we have viewed the entrance off Gordon Road. I'm just wondering what the situation there is, whether they're going to need traffic lights. I mean, I don't think that's an option, but what exactly they are planning, bearing in mind that you come straight over a unseen bridge and drop down over the Silver Stream. And I'm just wondering how that's planned to work.
Thank you, Councillor. So we have gone through preliminary design on that intersection. It's obviously a Wakakatahi road, it's a state highway, so we are working hand in hand with our friends from Wakakatahi. We'll look to go to construction, or look to go to market to go to construction in May, so next month. The design itself should be shared with the community board next community board meeting. I'll probably leave it at that.
Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for the report. And actually, these project status reports are excellent. My question is a generic question that probably is best answered by the CEO. It's my belief that the project management office was one of your ideas. So the question is, are you happy with, I guess, its performance and functioning?
Well, to be fair, the PMO was Mr. Drew's idea, and that was one of the benefits of having a fresh set of eyes come into the organisation and look at things. But initially, we had external contractors managing it for us. The change I made was to in-house it and bring Mr. Von Pine and Dr. Hazelton, among others, into the team. I'm really, really happy with the progress that they are making, and we're about to double down on that and look at augmenting our project delivery capability even more with some more internal resource rather than externally sourcing project managers.
Cool, thank you. So, Mr. Drew, same question to you, I guess. Are you happy with its performance and functioning?
Yes, Councillor, very pleased. Good to bring a consistent industry best practice approach. And we've started that in our major projects and then now cascading those tools and approaches through business as usual.
Cool, thank you.
I'm very pleased.
Sorry for stealing your thunder.
It's a team approach.
It is. Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Chair. My question is just regarding reading these, and some of it is quite complex and some things I didn't quite understand what the initials were, etc. So I just wonder, because I can see there's a lot of questions, and I'm supposing some might be about the way that they're comprehending the report, and I just wonder if it's possible just for us to have a workshop or something at ELT just to go through some of these things. Just took me a while to understand what MOP meant at the top of one of the diagrams, and then just understanding that the traffic light system is, I'm assuming that it's the traffic light system that's being used. It's on page
But that's a really good suggestion, councillor, and I'm happy to arrange just a session for those who would like an understanding of what these look like. As I said, these are designed for us as the operational folk as well, and trying to minimise rework, but absolutely it's a really good idea to have a common understanding of the language.
Thank you. Yeah, because it's still not just obviously our councillors who are reading it, but also can't call them ordinary people. So it would be good if we were able to see these and then explain some of the stuff. So from that point of view, thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Councillor Gary.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Von Pine, I'm assuming you'll be the one to ask this question of, and thank you for the reports. My questions are around the Peninsula Connection project, and I was wondering if the forecast variance is around supply issues, supply costs, because we're all aware of supplies, materials going sky high in terms of costs.
Thank you, Councillor. No, it's not. Sorry, and maybe this will be some of the things we can workshop out. The project status report shows the complete project, so basically from Doon Street right up to Tauranga Head, of which some of that is funded and some of that has been completed and some of that is unfunded. So that variance is really the difference between what we think it will cost and then what we think it will cost with all our risks included. But we haven't yet drilled into that level of detail because we're not into the detailed design phase of.
Look forward to that session. Thank you for explaining that. And I had a second question, if I may, and please tell me if this is not the appropriate forum, but I know there was confusion recently around the extent of work to be done within the current budget around the Portobello area. What efforts are being made in terms of stakeholder engagement around that to clarify that situation? That may be a question for Mr. Drew, in fact.
I can help lead that if you like. So the current funding allows us to complete section 5, which is between Broad Bay and Turnbulls Bay, a section up the hill, and then section 9A, which is from the Portobello Boat Club through the 5-way intersection. Pretty much that's 9A. Then beyond that, the work is outside of our funding envelope. So in terms of the community consultation, we've had a project manager present to the community board, but there's still some work to do there. We need to better articulate what we are going to do and when we're going to do it, and we also need to articulate what's outside that funding, the funded project at the moment as well.
Oh, that's good to know. I think the issue is around people's perception of where the township begins and ends, possibly, but that's good to hear work's being done. Thank you for your answers.
If I can just follow up on Councillor Gary's question too. In terms of the Peninsula Connection project, this is the last parts of the project that are funded in the current funding cycle, is that correct?
That's correct. Within the LTP funding.
Within the LTP funding cycle. So if there's to be more funding, we'll have to go into the next LTP, which is for everybody affected in that area should be aware of that. It's probably where we'll be looking to get to fund it any further. Councillor Radich.
Just going back to the Mosgiel pool, it does say in the update that it's a new signalised junction. Will be operational early 2023, as shown on page 37. Is that the default position? So, because Councillor Lord asked about that, I just wanted to check that that is the operational default at this point.
Yes, and sorry, apologies to Councillor Hall, then I wasn't clear. The current prelim design is based on a signalised intersection.
Thank you.
I think with a warning light on the other side of the bridge, from what I remember. Councillor Elder.
I just want to say thank you for the project status reports and the project management office. And I was just wanting to ask Simon, what do you see the benefits already in having project management in-house?
Project management in-house, I guess institutional knowledge. So we retain those kind of skill sets in-house and we grow and develop our own people and give our own people career pathways. And it's often more efficient to have your resources in-house and having those kind of one-to-one discussions and connections that you often don't get if you have an external project manager on the job. So yeah, that would be my main benefits.
And I'll jump in. One of the main benefits for me, aside from the consistency of delivery, we're starting to see is it's cheaper. And so it means that there's a saving for the ratepayer by us bringing this work in rather than paying consultants.
Thank you for that, because I see the progress on projects as being much faster as well. The other question I have, and it's related to that, because sometimes projects have silos, and that is, I note that art and infrastructure is embedded into both projects, and I was just wondering about your commentary around that art and infrastructure with the Mosgiel pool and also that infrastructure work on the peninsula.
Yeah, I guess that's just a work in progress, Councillor. We are trying to build more and more art into infrastructure projects. There will be a to the council shortly on some of the art around the George Street upgrade, and there's been the art and infrastructure at the Ross Creek Dam, but it's just we're building it in wherever we can.
So in your perception, having a project management office in-house, does that enable that art and infrastructure to be embedded into all the projects far easier?
Yeah, it certainly helps, and having those internal resources connecting with our arts and culture team, and I guess that's where all of the synergy and the magic happens with the collaboration between various teams.
Thank you. It's very carry on, Sandy.
So I just want to add though, but a part of this is also about the work we've been doing with Mana Whenua through Okaha, because we're incorporating a cultural narrative, for example, into the Mosgiel pool, which is really exciting. And that's because we're setting ourselves up to work, and we're only learning. We're baby steps is involving Mana Whenua at the start of the projects, so that what we do is integrated from the ground up. And so but we're still learning. And so the Mosgiel pool is a good example. And when councillors, when the George Street designs are finalised in the next couple of weeks, you'll see it even more so then. But it's part of how we're trying to do things, and we're not necessarily getting it right on everything. But so it's that's different in my mind than art and infrastructure. So there are two things at play here.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback on that. Thank you.
If I can just follow up with those comments and that question with the question on the MOP, the traffic light system there. How do we determine what's green, orange or red? And let's say, for example, engagement Mana Whenua, how do we determine that is green?
magic. I suppose simplistically, the bulk of the report is very quantitative, so it's all comes from data.
Yeah.
And will be expressed in graphs and engineering reports. The traffic lights is more qualitative, so it is there are some metrics around it, but it is a little bit more fluid or qualitative, if you will. So yeah, it's a way of just indicating the health of those relationships or those issues as such.
So from our governance perspective, anybody who has an interest in any of the MOP outcomes, this is quite a reasonable venue to ask whether progress is on that.
And if I could drill into that a bit more, so I use that as a tool within my team and around council as well to signal where I've got an issue that I need help with. So if I have an issue with health and safety or funding, I'll flag that red, and then I hope that will get the attention of the people around council that need to be aware of that, and they start asking questions and we can start finding solutions and such.
Thank you. Councillor Wiley.
Thank you. Question for Mr. Drew, just going about the comms that came out of the community board in regards to the Portobello School. Just confirming and clarifying that there is going to be a pathway or a safe access from the Portobello community or township through to the school.
Yeah, that's correct, councillor. We're upgrading the existing footpath to provide a better level of service from the town, the five-way intersection to the school near the cemetery. And in terms of the comms, as you'll be aware, one of the comms and engagement people from DCC moved to Gisborne last year, so there's a new resource starting in a couple of weeks' time. And same with Fulton Hogan, they lost their comms resource on the project about the same time. So we're in a rebuilding phase of our comms and engagement staff, and acknowledge that we'll need to get better in that space.
Yeah, and just for clarification's sake, that wasn't made aware at the community board meeting when the discussion sort of erupted, or the comments from the community board came out.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, thank you, and appreciate the work you did in following that through and connecting the school with the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I just want to say the community board has already raised concerns about that entrance to the pool. They're worried about safety issues with it. So they are aware of it and quite concerned about it. Given it's NZTA, should we approach NZTA directly, or does it go through the project team for that?
With respect, if they come through the project team.
Well, we have already raised concerns about it. Have you got those concerns noted?
I don't specifically in front of me at the moment, but that design will go through peer review. So any Waka Kotahi design gets an independent safety audit, as well as the internal reviews. So those concerns, if they've been passed on to our project manager, will be disseminated and looked at by both the existing designer and an external party.
It has actually been raised 2 or 3 times now, so I just want to make it very clear that the community board do have safety concerns, and it's to do with that bridge and the fact that it's coming straight off. You know, it is quite a dangerous site, and they're worried about that for the amount of people that'll be going into that pool. The other thing I'd say around the report with I found those quite confusing, sorry to tell you, around those reports for the projects as well. They didn't really, I wasn't quite sure, they weren't that clear, I didn't think. So yeah, it'd be good if we could have those sort of explaining what they are would be great. Thank you, that would be good. The other thing I was just going to mention very quickly was a question around the project team. So Simon, before, did each say if an issue came up, did you have to go to the department that it came up in, and now everybody, all members of those, sort of say a representative of each department that you need to work with for projects is in the team. Is that what's happening at the moment?
Yeah, well, previously each department led the project. So, you know, George Street used to be led out of transport. And
right.
Now it's led out of the PMO, and they kind of reach across and use resources from the transport team and the Three Waters team. So
does that mean on the project management office you have members of transport in there that you can go to and, you know, like directly say, oh, got an issue here, what about this? So you've got already an inroad to transport sitting beside you, say, you know?
No, it doesn't work quite like that. I think it might be useful, councillors, that at the same time we work through a brief on the project reporting, that we give you just a high-level overview of how the PMO actually works, rather than try and explain it now, because I think
yeah, rather than try.
Yeah, how about that? Because it took me ages to get my head around it, and you know, I'm working with it every day. So
the reason I'm asking about it is that this is exactly, I think, because I'm not fully understanding how it works, but it sounds very similar to what I've been suggesting for ages. I'm a bit like a broken record, but around when people have a building issue and they come into consents, is that they get this one-stop shop where they've got everybody, you know, someone who can.
So it's not like that. So it is quite different.
Right.
And Ms. Austin is working on something in the consenting area that will give effect to what you're suggesting, even if it doesn't look quite the same as what you're suggesting, it'll have the same effect.
Right, hopefully. Oh, that would be great, because I certainly know people are, you know, it's an issue when someone has to go to one department and then they don't know, and then they have to come back and then go to another department. So that would be useful. Thank you.
That's Gary.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just following up from an earlier question from Councillor Elder and the answer given, and this was around art and infrastructure. Am I correct in understanding that the Peninsula Connection project actually missed the cut on, it was a timing matter in terms of having art and infrastructure as part of it? That's the first question. And the second is kind of related but separate. Could you give us an update on Mana Whenua involvement from the beginning and where that's up to around the project?
I can't speak to the historic.
No, I'm not aware of that project missing out on the art and infrastructure, and there is, I guess, work to be done still on that aspect.
I could say the art and infrastructure policy wasn't adopted until the Peninsula Connection was well constructed, but we are still looking, as I understand it, to do some interpretation and some things around the entire journey from Port Chalmers to Portobello, but I can't say more than that at this point.
That's helpful. I think that's probably where the confusion lay, because it was started beforehand, but it would be good to continue to have that clarification. Thank you all.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Lord, everybody's restrained, actually. I move it then that the committee notes the updated reports on Mosgiel full developments as provided as attachment A and the Peninsula Connection projects as provided as attachment B. Seconded, Councillor Radich. Anybody wish to speak? Councillor Elder.
I would like to say a big congratulations to Simon Drew and Sandy Graham for the institution of our project management office. I believe this is a big step forward in us achieving our projects in a way that is holistic and includes all of the departments within the City Council, so that, for example, art and infrastructure, water, roading, everything is included within a project, within in-house. I think silos do in fact slow projects down. Having a holistic approach and an in-house approach is looking at these project reports and speeding up these projects. It also enables in-house the development of skills and abilities, and our own project management skills and abilities will grow, and it'll enable our staff to build those connections across the council, as well as build their connections within the community. I love the idea that it's holistic, and the art and infrastructure was promoted and can be included in these projects as they go along. And I'm really pleased with the work with Ōkaha and the local Runanga and Māori groups, having these stories and input with embedded within them. So I'm just really excited, and I hear that in fact developing our own project management skills is enabling us to actually save money. We've spent a lot of money on consultants and bringing people out of house. Building those in-house skills was promoted as actually being cost effective, and now we're seeing those efficiencies. I'm really, really glad. So well done, everybody. Looking forward to some really neat projects that are coming up, and for those efficiencies and those holistic approaches being within those projects. Well done. Exciting.
Councillor Houlihan.
Yes, I'd like to follow on from that. If that is what's happening, I think that's fantastic. I'm not 100% sure that is what's happening, but if there's members of different departments in the project management team, that makes sense to me, because what has been happening for some people is that there's been time delays, communication breakdowns, and it's led to them paying more for their consents, and their building work has ended up taking longer because of it. And I hope that for us, it will mean clearer communication. Like if you've got a transport issue and you've got someone sitting in a desk near you, you can say, oh, how are we going to work that? And you've got to tap straight in. I don't know if that's what's happening, but if it is, I think it's a brilliant idea. And I think we need to look at it for other areas, as I said, like with consenting, where someone comes in and then gets directed off to drainage, and then gets directed off to planning, and then gets directed off somewhere else, and each time they get told something different. What we need is somewhere where there's a clear communication channel, so everybody knows what everybody else is saying and the same message is getting across. So if that's what's happening with this, I think it's fantastic. Thank you.
Councillor Barker.
Just want to thank the team for putting forward these reports. They are full of an incredible amount of detail, which I look forward to a workshop on, because comprehending them was a little challenging, but it gave me great hope to see how these projects were going on, especially the interest is high in the Mosgiel Pool and the Peninsula project as well. So I thought these were great, and I absolutely commend the team for putting these out in the public arena. We've seen in our finance reports, I think that was last week, how well we're going with the capital spending, and I think this will make people feel very positive that we're actually achieving some of the plans that we set out to do. Thanks, team.
Thank you. Any more speakers? I've done it yet again where I've managed to move an item and forget to speak at the start of it. So I'll speak now. I want to thank the CEO, Mr. Drew, for sort of bringing this on. This has been an ongoing discussion I've had with them about how do we keep track of major projects. So just to Councillor Houlihan's commentary, this is not actually about customer service or any such things, or even how the PMO is working. It's a method. I'm asking to have this brought into the committee as a mechanism for us to look at our major projects and make sure that they're on time. And if we have a major project, understand exactly where we are with it. And sort of an easy way to read part of this is looking at the cumulative cost profile. as soon as the money stops being spending, that's probably when the job is over. So you can get a sense of when all these projects are planned on finishing by looking at that profile and when it drops down. I think things like the MOP will be very useful because it will allow us to actually ask a question out loud. If something is green or orange or red, is that in fact the case? So I kind of want to laud the staff and the CEO for giving us this much information. I know people are saying this is a relatively complex document, but in fact it's absolutely honest in terms of this is exactly where we are and this is exactly where staff are saying they believe themselves to be at this point. And that makes a great relationship between the governance and operational side of the council. Because if we can see clearly where everything is going, then we can play our role properly, which is the governance role and making sure that these just things are being executed without getting too much into the spanner and screwdriver in our hands and going in and sorting out the day-to-day stuff. It's got the PMO office, we'll touch on that a little bit, even though this isn't the item, but it's coming out of that office. That's been a great addition to the council's operating behaviour. It's got rid of a lot of the siloed activities, and it also makes perfect sense that if you have a contractor working 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, it's probably better to have them in-house than it is to have them as a very expensive contractor. So all in all, I want to thank CEO and Mr. Drew for bringing these items on. We'll see more of them, and just from our perspective, I think we look at them as a mechanism of understanding whether or not things are on track or not. So they shouldn't necessarily take very long to go through in a meeting, unless of course something's way off track, and then that would be the point of bringing them at that point. So without any more speakers, I put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. It brings us to the last item of the day, which is items for consideration for the chair. Ms. McDonald, I know that you and I have exchanged some emails over the Karatani Wharf. Do you want to bring that item up for consideration? You're on mute at the moment, and then.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Can I request that the chair to report back to this committee the activities to date regarding the deterioration of the Karatani Wharf and proposed actions to remediate the damage?
Thanks. Okay, so I'll accept that as a item for consideration by the chair, and we'll hopefully have a report back on that, or at least an update on that at the next infrastructure meeting. Any other items for consideration for the chair? Well then, that's that. Then I declare this meeting
Mr. Chair.
Oh, wait a minute, sorry.
Chair, I think Councillor Gary's hand is up.
Oh, sorry, the video's off. Sorry, Councillor Gary, your hand is up.
It is, Mr. Chair, and the item I have is, I wonder if we could have a report on the inner city bus loop. The motion, we passed a motion, a resolution back in 2019, and it's mentioned from time to time by various members of council. It would be good to know what progress is being made on that and where the obstacles lie.
Might I mention something here, Chair?
Yes.
The council might remember that as part of our submission to the ORC, it was either the annual plan, 10-year plan, or one of the maybe the regional transport plan. Council included in there information about the loop bus, and I think we suggested scenarios and solutions in that report for the ORC to take up or otherwise. That was my recollection of what had happened following council's position on that. I'm not sure that another report will add anything to that submission.
What feedback do we have, or can we further ask for feedback from ORC?
So I can follow up what happened to that submission, but I think there is little benefit at this point in officers writing another report that says the same thing as the last one.
Sure, and I'd be happy with that, CEO Graham.
And you're right. Is that okay with you, Mr. Chair?
I think so. I mean, we could perhaps have a summary of events that got us to that report to close the loop on it, might be.
So to speak.
Yeah. rather than, I agree, another report would not be of much use, but it might be helpful for people to understand where we got to with the reports.
I don't mind what form it takes. It would just be good to get something back to understand progress, however, whatever format that's in.
Okay, I think we can capture that. Anything else? I don't want to miss anybody before I close the meeting. Okay, looks like we're good. Okay, I will now declare this meeting closed. Thank you.